So he's saying, okay, I made investments in this community or in the Mount Pleasant, anticipating, a return on my investment. There's nothing wrong with that. And now he's saying, hey, all these claims were faulty, and the contract that you engaged in with Foxconn has been defaulted on.
Well, guys, February sucks, don't it? But at least we have the companionship of the viewers. Welcome back to Talking Racine. It's probably pretty cold as you're watching this.
Mm-hmm. It promises to stick around for a little bit.
Because it's cold today.
Yeah.
How you doing, George Myers?
I'm doing warmly.
Warmly. Jim Spodek?
Good.
Me too. I mean, I'm getting a little tired of being shut up. Everybody's getting cabin fever. Except for one guy here out in the county. He doesn't seem to be suffering from cabin fever. I'm talking about Daniel Hintz. He has filed a shareholder derivative lawsuit against our favorite international company, Foxconn. Why is he doing that? Well, because Foxconn was going to employ up to 13,000 people. That didn't work. That's make a $10 billion investment. That hasn't happened. Invest $1.4 billion, or have $1.4 billion in assessed value by the end of this year. So we'll know about that one. And Mount Pleasant bonded $769 million to create a TID.
What is this thing called, a derivative lawsuit?
Well,
explain that.
Yeah, well, one of the things is he is suing, SIO International, which is Terry Gao, Racine County, and the
Terry
village.
Gao is Foxconn.
Yeah.
Well, it's a separate
holding
corporation.
company, really.
Yeah, it's so that Foxconn didn't get involved with
Right.
this.
And Village of Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
And what the lawsuit is, suing the corporation as a shareholder and saying that there's been a breach of contract with Foxconn.
Now that's what the lawsuit is about. In other words, the corporation is Mount Pleasant,
right?
And being a citizen, he's claiming he's a shareholder.
Correct.
Okay, and that's what makes it a derivative lawsuit.
And that's established relationship, so he's perfectly within his rights to do this.
Correct. One of the things that he brought up, that the Mount Pleasant has been damaged. There was $200 million in land acquisition. There was $185 million in development for the water and sewer. Another $12 million for roads that is stuck with Mount Pleasant.
That's close to $400 million.
Yeah, $400 million. And they say, Foxconn has breached its contract, saying it was going to build a Gen 10 TV screen business, which they said, no, we're only going to build a 6 generation plant, which hasn't even been developed yet. So, yeah, have they breached the contract? Absolutely, they have.
Well, another part of this whole thing is that he has asked Mount Pleasant to sue, and they refused to sue.
Right.
And that's kind of a prerequisite in
That's
order
what
for
opened
him
the door
to do
for
it.
him.
Yeah, that allows him to do it. So Mount Pleasant is going to sit on his butt, not going to do anything about it. So he's bringing the lawsuit, which is interesting.
What do you think, Jim? Do you think Foxconn has breached the contract?
I do. Well, they absolutely have. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Now, Mount Pleasant is saying, well, they're paying the taxes, and but on the other side, with this lawsuit is saying, yeah, but they were going to deliver all this activity, which would have spurred all kinds of other activity within Mount Pleasant, City Racine, and where's that?
Well, not to mention all of the people who were living out there or were farming out there, they were paying taxes.
Absolutely.
So where's the gain?
There is. Well, in this point, part of his lawsuit is what is the gain?
So far, there hasn't been a gain. There's only been an expense.
Exactly. There's been he feels that this Mount Pleasant has been damaged, and he is basically suing Mount Pleasant Corporation on and any proceeds that if there is a windfall, it would then go to Mount Pleasant. It won't go to Hintz. It'll go to Mount Pleasant. So
It's part of this derivative lawsuit.
correct.
Yeah.
It's like if it was a
Person
stock company and it was you were a stockholder and they had created an environment that lost money and the shareholders said, hey, you can't keep doing this. We're going to sue you, and if we do win, that money goes back into the corporation, which is really the shareholders, in this case, Mount
Yeah,
Pleasant.
ultimately he would benefit from this,
That's
as would all the other
that's the rub.
citizens. Yeah,
That's the rub. Now, he owns a considerable amount of land in Mount Pleasant.
yeah. But he wouldn't benefit like in dollars in his
No,
pocket. He would
no,
basically,
not on the suit, no.
Yeah, gain relief from
But,
further
but
damages.
you know, one of the arguments, and I saw it, and I think that JT did an article on it and said he owns, you know, all these different acreage of land in Mount Pleasant. He would benefit from it. Well, I mean, he's a developer. He's an investor. He figured, well, Foxconn was making these claims that they were going to build this. Mount Pleasant, the Racine County, City Racine, they all jumped on board. Every politician you can find, you know, were falling over each other trying to, you know, put this project together and claiming it was the best thing in.
Transformative.
That's the word.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yes.
The eighth wonder of the world, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's saying, okay, I made investments in this community or in the Mount Pleasant, anticipating, you know, a return on my investment. There's nothing wrong with that. And now he's saying, hey, all these claims were faulty, and the contract that you engaged in with Foxconn has been defaulted on. We have some kind of claim here. Mount Pleasant says, whoa, we're going to wait it out and see what happens. Well, that's a typical politician move. You know, we hope to cover ourselves and hope it goes away. But in reality, I do believe that Mount Pleasant has been damaged, and his suit, I think, should move forward. Will it? It's Judge Piontek in Racine. So, I mean, you got to read, so I don't know how far that'll go. But
Well, I think it would be a huge embarrassment to the village board and all of the local politicians up to the state level, criminy, up to the national level. I mean, Trump was a big proponent of this. It'd be a big embarrassment for all of these people, and they don't want that.
well, anytime you shine a light on it, I mean, it's gonna, you know, you're gonna see some of the deficiencies, and yeah, I agree. I mean, it is. But personally, I like it. I think it needs to be drawn out a little bit, and it needs to be
I
examined.
agree.
You know, and I think this is one way of doing it. So,
So,
what do you think, George?
No, I like. We've challenged it all along, and we said no, going into it, they went in it like blindfolded. Remember, we discussed the difference between.
well, you and I gave them a 25% chance of actually doing what they were going to do. Jim here, he was the pessimist. He said, no way.
Well, you remember we discussed how you negotiate with the Chinese. They have a different.
Yeah.
They have a different way of negotiating, and at least you need to be at the same table. And we weren't even there. I mean, they're negotiating at this table, and you know the Mount Pleasant people were negotiating over at this table, and they weren't playing the same game.
Yeah.
And that was one of the big problems I saw with it. And now somebody wants to sue because he thought this was the game at this table. I said no, they were playing over at this table, and I think that's where some of the problem is going to be. Is that
Well, it seemed like it was Scott Walker and Terry Gow on a cocktail napkin.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. When we brought that up.
Yeah.
You know, you need how many jobs? Oh, 13,000. Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. and remember what we said at the time is that to the way the Oriental or China, I'm not just sure where the ethnic part of it comes in, but anyway, the point is that over at this table, when you come to an agreement, it's more of a plan. In America, you write it down, and that's what you both are tied to. Over here, it's like they're just dreams and plans. It's not actually. It's very changeable.
Well, it's more cultural than ethnic.
Yeah,
That's why you were feeling uncomfortable with saying ethnic, because that's really not.
And I'm not sure if it's the
cultural.
Chinese or it's the Oriental or just who it is. I don't know if the same thing goes with the Japanese. I just don't know where that comes
Where
from.
the line is
But
drawn.
that was what we had done from our studies, is that there's a different way of playing these contracts, the contract game, in China than there is in the United States.
Right.
That was.
And one of the areas that we kind of overlooked a little bit, and I think the suit overlooked it, was the city of Racine and the amount of money that they also expended for Foxconn, and of course the glowing things that were going to happen for the city of Racine, and I can remember, I don't know which meeting it was, talking about how they're going to have to make spots for people to camp because they won't have enough hotel rooms, so they're going to have to open up some land for camping for the people that are going to build this huge development out there, the eighth wonder of the world. I mean, it just
Well,
got
they've
so
invested
crazy.
a lot in infrastructure. I mean, there's the water
Oh, yeah.
system that was
Yeah.
expanded on to go out there.
But I mean, it got
The
so
roads.
crazy there for
Yeah.
a while. I mean, the things that were being said was almost laughable to a good degree. And now, I guess the rubber is meeting the road a little bit here. How far this goes, I don't know.
Well, to me, the most obvious thing, the whole thing that just made it really difficult to comprehend why they would be doing it, is they had a 30-year plan,
Yeah.
like on a payback, in an industry that changes by the month with new developments. I mean,
Totally risky.
yeah, that's
Speculative
very
to the
risky to
extreme.
something like that. It's not like you're dealing with farming, where farming basically is farming,
Yeah.
and corn is going to grow the same way now.
Maybe
that
they
it did.
should think about
yeah,
farming.
Yeah. Or where you could count on something staying the same, But boy, when you get in technology, just look at what sound reproduction was. How long we had the LPs, and then we went to. We're now
Eight
now
tracks.
Cassettes. It changed so
Digital.
quickly. Yeah,
Clips.
Look
I
at
mean,
Blockbuster.
Yeah.
It was all over the world, and then all of a sudden, in like 5 years, they're suddenly gone because
Yeah.
technology changes.
Well, let's move on. We got more information on the Widener case.
I think it's gotten to a very revealing point now of
Oh,
what's
my
going on
Yeah.
in the Judicial Department. Jim has a really good summary of it. Jim, starting with the simplicity of a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah. Executive committee, PowerPoint presentation, all the aldermen were there. And of course, again, they did it because she was in the heat of a mayoral campaign. The campaign, she loses the campaign, poof, it's gone. She says, "Hey, what
Happened to the ethics complaint?
Right, you're going to
yeah?
complain on an ethics committee. I want to know what. I want to see what that PowerPoint is that you're submitting."
Well, yeah, and at the point we didn't know exactly how many slides there were because nobody was counting.
Right.
But so she presents a lawsuit. All right, there's a PowerPoint presentation. She wants the PowerPoint presentation. Won't give it up. Scott Ledney won't give it up. So she goes for writ of mandamus.
Right.
When they're about to win that suit.
Well,
whatever.
she files a writ of mandamus saying, "Hey, I'm going to force you through a court to give me that because I have a right to see it, and I'm a public official. Number one, number two, this is public business, and it's open records, and I should be able to see this thing." He says, "Well, wait a second."
Yeah.
He
You can't
passes
be
out
trusted.
all the emails to all the aldermen almost the same day or a couple days later, and then says to the judge and on a response saying, "Well, there's no need to go to court because I passed out all the emails to all the aldermen."
Right.
And
then how many was that?
15,
16.
16.
According to the cover letter, there were 16 in the packet.
Yeah.
So, this is a really important point. There's a PowerPoint presentation. Sandy sues to get it. Letney tries to undercut the lawsuit by saying, "I've already given it out to everybody," and
Right.
it's 16 emails. All right?
And there had been a discussion between attorneys and the court, and the attorney for the city of Racine said, "Well, there was some minor differences,
Well, here's
but
this is
nothing significant."
This is a letter, a highly redacted letter, but a very interesting sentence that's not redacted. It says, "The differences in the two versions of the PowerPoints." Now, that's the difference between the PowerPoint that there were 15 and the one that we discussed, the
It's
alleged
currently in the
PowerPoint.
court.
Yeah.
It's currently in the court of 70 different emails, as opposed to 16 emails. The differences in the two versions of the PowerPoints are very minor and do not affect the summary judgment decision. Very minor, between 16 and 70.
So, what they're
And the
saying
summary
is,
judgment, by the way, summary judgment, for those you aren't familiar with that, means that the court's going to just throw out Sandy's case summarily, has no, we're done with it. We don't want to hear any more
We're going
about
to sum it
this
up,
case.
basically.
Yeah,
This
just sum
is-
it, yep. That's
It's
it.
over. Yep. And
Because the difference is minor, it's really not a
Right.
big deal.
Well, who's
between
running this show
16
here? I
and
mean, you
70.
take it. No,
Now,
we're
how do
talking
you-
3
how-
years.
Yeah, how does a decision like that come about? And that's what you're talking about.
It's the mystery of the law.
Yeah, no, basically, I'll tell you, I think it comes down to judges not doing their job. I mean, they should read it, they should look at it, they should get all the information. Again, I go back to the fact that the city, you're fighting a city of Racine, they've got all the money, they can hire best
All of
attorneys,
our money.
all our money,
Yeah.
to fight against you. And we're talking about an open records. We're talking about one of the more simple cases. They've turned this thing into a attorney's eyes only and sealed courts, and I mean for open records. That's really the bottom line. This is open records, and with a government and a city office, they're supposed to be the highest and most transparent. That's by law. But this is a simple case.
And you bring up this thing about attorney's eyes. Now, attorney's eyes only. Not just the
Not
court.
even the client.
Yeah, not even the client can see it. Sandy Widener couldn't even see it. That's how close it was. Over, theoretically, 16 emails that had already been distributed to everybody. So theoretically, everybody's seen them. What's secret is the additional, how many would be 16 from 70? Is 54?
54.
54 different ones. And it might be more than 54 because we're not even sure that the original 16 are included in those 70.
That's true, too, yeah.
It could be down to 5 of the original ones, and it's really a difference of 60.
Exactly.
I think-
And like I said it before, I'm sure that they padded those emails so if Kirkman does actually look at them, oh, yeah, you look like attorney-client privilege. This thing is so muddled up at this point, the truth is lost.
And I think the reason, something we're leaving out is a buddy-buddy system amongst lawyers because, all judges have been lawyers first, and then they get to be elected to judges. And there seems to be too much connectivity there because for a judge to go along with this and say that it's very minor when it's 16 emails versus 70, and start blocking up view of them because, well, some of them, particularly when all of them have theoretically been seen already, there's more than just
makes you wonder, what in the
laziness
hell
involved.
what is this all about?
There's some buddy buddy going on there that a lawyer can come in and demand that because it just doesn't make sense.
Is this
It defies
this is
reason.
where our court systems are, though. I mean, we've seen it not just here; we've seen it in a lot of different cases where we see these systems just kind of overshadow the truth, and it's almost
Yeah.
like, well, this is how it really works here. And I got to tell you, I had a judge, he's now passed away, basically tell me, it's these attorneys now that are basically cut the deal and bring it to the judge. The judge just, this is the way it is, signs it. and
Signs
that's
off on it, yeah.
Just signs off on it. So, I mean, how many judges are really acting as a judge now? I mean, I think that's where we're at.
And how many are judging on the law?
Correct.
I mean, now, Gashikevitz made a very telling remark when he was early back in the case. He said, I made a public policy decision. That is not a legal decision.
Correct.
And I had a case that went all the way to the Supreme Court. We've talked about that before. And the very same thing happened. It was a public policy decision. It was not a decision based on the law. And what do you do after you've been to the Supreme Court?
Go home.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah. No, our system needs to be really reworked. I mean, when you can take 3 years on an open records case, we got a problem. I mean, that's a major, major problem. And I think the citizens, not only in Racine, I think all over, need to really address our community courts and really go in and really understand them. And this no more is buddy-buddy system. I mean, we just had another attorney appointed to Piontek's position as a judge, and it's another basically buddy system.
Another family member
Yeah.
in there. Yeah,
I mean, it's just you just watch it. It's over and over. You can't even hardly make it up anymore.
Well, and another thing to consider, think of all the things that could have been done with the money that's been
Yeah.
spent on this lawsuit to go into the pockets of basically attorneys up in Milwaukee.
Yeah. pretty much.
Got to be at least a couple $100,000.
Oh, I'm sure it's all of that. And you know why? You know, let's keep fighting. What the hell was? What's? I mean, why give this? Why give this milk cow up? You know.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah, I laugh, but it's not funny. It's disgusting and it's tragic, and it really should end.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. What else have we got here today? One thing we haven't done in a while is George looks at the news. You
I
see
try to
anything
avoid
over
it.
there?
I tell you what I did like about this, the front page of this.
Yeah.
It's a new restaurant and a true family effort. Now, that's some nice front page story.
Yep.
Myron Tucker and Lewis Tucker, father and adopted son, are seen through the pickup window at Tucker's Homestyle Cooking, 2305 Racine Street in Mount Pleasant on Wednesday.
What kind of food have they got there? That's not a can of tuna he's holding, is it?
No, that's
looks like
it's
some
homemade
kind of-
sauce with chicken wings
Nice.
with chicken wing.
Carry out.
See, now that's some good news, you
It
know,
is.
and I don't have a
Yeah.
problem with that being on the front page. But also along with it is a new local mandates plan, and that's on the masking thing. So obviously the masking thing has to be in there. And what the bottom line is, folks, Racine is definitely the most dangerous place with sick people because we are the only municipal corporation, you know, that's the city of Burlington and villages in the whole county that has to have a masking ordinance. We still got ours. Nobody else has done it, and they're giving good reasons. I've read through some of the reasons, and some of the village board managers or whatever saying, you know, we just don't see any sense for it. It really doesn't do that much good. Doesn't make that much change.
Well, here's the other thing, George. If you go to City Hall, you can't get in City Hall. I mean, it's
Yeah,
closed.
it's like
I mean, you go by, there's no cars there, nothing. I mean, it's gotten to the point of.
Are they still heating the building?
Yeah,
You know, I mean, they could probably save some money if they turn the thermostat
Yeah,
down.
really. Yeah, it's just.
Who they got down there besides the janitorial staff?
Probably that's it.
Give 'em
Like
an
the
ex-
schools.
Give them
The
an extra
schools-
layer
yeah.
of clothes,
I'll
you
tell
know, turn the
the-
thermostat
Hey,
down.
the janitors are making out. I mean, they're the ones winning here. They're loving it.
Well, and that could be part of the thing that they have to uphold. You know, they can't just. We've been locked down all along, and we can't just go along with these municipalities. They're just dangerous, uncaring people out there, and we're concerned. But here, I thought Walters. This is the city administrator, Karina Walters, said people should decide about wearing a face mask rather than the city make it a law. Now, to me, as a libertarian, that's the way I've said it before on this program, and I still say it, that's the type of thing that's really an individual decision-making thing. If a restaurant wants to open and people want to come in, let them do it. If the restaurant doesn't want to open or people don't want to go to the restaurant, let them do that. It's not up to Dottie Bauer Sox to decide for all of us how we should be behaving. And unfortunately, the city continues with its lies about needing to hover over us because we are incapable of making such a decision all on our own, where the rest of the county is out there and making their own decisions, which I think is...
Are you being sarcastic?
I don't know, is that sarcastic?
That was as good as I can say.
All right, we're out of here. Thanks for the heads up there, George, and the local news. Stay warm. Come back. See us next week.